the manufacturing sector. One of the involvement I have with is Magellan Aerospace, and one of our major plants here is Bristol. Magellan is about an $800 million business, and Bristol is about $100 million, so about 1/8 of that. And over the last decade, as the Canadian dollar went from 64 cents to parity, you have a business that was making gross profit margins of about 15%, and most of your goods were priced in US dollars. So if you're selling a widget for $1 US, and you're getting paid then in Canadian, it was $1.50 Canadian, your profit was 15% or basically 20 cents. And all of a sudden, that $1 US is no longer worth $1.50 Canadian, it's worth $1. You've lost all your gross profit. And so Magellan has been one that has been really challenging in terms of dealing with the Canadian currency. And then, of course, September 2011 also impacted the aerospace sector tremendously. And I think that out of that, management, and I give real credit to the operating management of the company there, they sat down in a room and I said to them, look at guys, we can no longer rely on a weak Canadian dollar. We have to compete on a global basis. And so what we did really hard and what management did really hard there was look at all of our processes. And they said, one, we have to be able to compete at parity. So we had to get our cost structure to compete at parity. Second thing we had to do was we had to focus on things where we had added value. In other words, if we were making a widget that had very little added value in terms of technical capability or skill set, we would not compete with the Chinese or the Japanese because their wage rates are dramatically less. So what we started to do is focus on where we could add more value, which were more technically complicated parts, more skilled parts. And so I think the answer is, how do you compete as a Canadian manufacturer is, I think, one, you got to accept that you can no longer rely on a weak currency. Two, you have to develop skill sets or technical capability where you have added value, added skills, added complex materials or skills that other countries like China and India can't do. And then third, I think you really have to look at your whole manufacturing process and be very, very organized and very process-driven. And if you're not going to survive. And today, is Magellan and Bristol guaranteed success? I think we're guaranteed now that we're viable. But if we don't keep evolving and keep changing our manufacturing process and continue to move to more specialized products, we will get overtaken by the emerging countries. So it's a real challenge. And it's different than the resource sector, because in the resource sector, you know, in Calgary, I tell guys, boy, manufacturing, the dollar's gone from 65 cents to $1, and they say, oh, that's no big deal. They say oil's gone from $20 to $80. Well, in the manufacturing business, we haven't seen that same increase in our product that the resource sector has. So in many ways, that's why the resource sector is bright opportunity for Western Canada. I believe on the manufacturing side, if we do focus on core competencies where we add added value, added skill, and we really drive our process as well, we can be competitive. But it's challenging.
Yeah.
We got to hear about the many industries that you're currently involved in. Is there one field that you would like to explore that you haven't done so already?
Well, again, my wife's not here, but one of the things, I think when I was 28 and able to walk away from a partnership at a law firm to no income, and my life saved $100,000. One of the reasons I think I could do it is I was single, and that gave me a lot of flexibility. I got married here now 8 years ago. I have a 4-year-old son, and so now I think part of my focus priorities is on that part of my life. I'm still really focused on my key businesses, but I've sort of made a commitment that I'm going to try to do less new investments and more family as a priority. And I think that it's just a point in your life. I think some people get married younger, have kids younger, families, and they focus a career later. I did the reverse. That being said, I got lots of businesses to keep me busy right now. If you have 15,000 employees, and I try to know as many by name as possible, but I can't know all 15,000, and so they know me and I don't know them. So when I get in an elevator and they say hi, I've got to try to. So it's a real challenge, but I'm lucky to have that challenge.
Is there an industry you've, like, if you had the time, the extra time, fascinating that we should get involved in, or is there something that really fascinates you?
Well, you know, somebody has called me a serial entrepreneur, and I guess I still do make investments. And recently, I've made a number of investments in what I would call environmental opportunities or green technology opportunities. And I think that as society grows, we're going to have to find ways to manage with less. And to do that, we're going to have to find new technologies. And I'm a real believer in technology. And so I've recently made investments in a professor at the University of Calgary called Dr. Keith. He's one of the world experts in carbon capture and sequestration. And myself and a fellow out of Seattle, I don't know his name, but he's got a Microsoft company down there. He's now retired CEO. I don't know his name, but it's Bill somebody. Himself and me have backed him in a new technology, and he's developed the technology to capture CO2 from the atmosphere on a reverse process and then re-inject it. It's very expensive, but it's at 400 years. So that's kind of something neat as an investment. And I'm also the major shareholder now of a company in Alberta called Enhanced Energy, which is undertaking the largest carbon capture and sequestration project in Alberta. It's about $1 billion project in which we're building a pipeline from Edmonton. And Edmonton is where all the refiners are in Edmonton. And we're going to capture the CO2 that comes off the refinery, ship it through a pipeline, and re-inject it back into oil fields. And it achieves two things. One, it captures CO2 from the atmosphere, sequesters it in the ground, so you have less CO2 emissions. And two, as you put that CO2 in the ground, it actually increases the oil recovery. So I like that one because here's something that actually is doing something environmentally creative, but actually creating more resources, more job, more value for the province. So I guess that I think there are some opportunities on the environmental side, but I think you got to be careful because you got to always make sure they tie back to economic reality.
Last question.
What would you say, or what would a piece of advice be to new graduates who have completed, or soon-to-be graduates who have completed a great university career and kind of looking beyond that?
No. You know what? I really have a real confidence in the human spirit and I have worked with thousands of people, and I've always seen in people that people with proper leadership and proper mentoring and proper passion can achieve great things. And so I guess what I would say is chase your passion, find something you love. If you're not loving it, do something else. But whatever you do, put all your energy into it. Don't go part way, go all the way, and you'll achieve success. So chase something you love and be fully committed to it.
Mr. Edwards, thank you very much for sharing what is obviously a passion for you. And we are going to unveil a plaque upstairs in just a few seconds, but actually a picture. But if we could put our hands together and thank Mr. Edwards one more time. So we will be moving just up the stairs past a number of earlier idea recipients, and we will be unveiling Mr. Edwards' picture.